Good day, everyone. Paul Lawrence Van here with you for Leadership is Influence, and I hope that you're having a wonderful day. First of all, thank you all for liking my videos and also for subscribing. I really appreciate it. And again, for those of you who don't know me, I just want to provide a little background about myself so that you can be a little bit more oriented to what the purpose of this YouTube video happens to be. This particular channel. My name is Paul Lawrence Van, and I have been in business for over 20 years. After I retired from the United States Air Force as a lieutenant colonel, I decided to become an entrepreneur, and I started Wealth Building Academy, LLC. And our primary purpose is to provide financial education and as well as leadership education. And we also operate in that space for speaking, providing keynote speeches, in addition to coaching, digital courses. So we develop courses and we write books. And of course, we host two podcasts, one Wealth Academy podcast, and the other is Leadership is Influence. So thank you very much for being with me today. And of course, I'm really going to be talking about leadership. And again, I want to preface this by saying you do not have to have a title of leader to be a leader. And that's what this particular channel is all about, is giving you different strategies, tools, techniques, and things to consider along your journey. And remember, leadership is a journey. And oftentimes that leadership journey starts when you're a youth. And most people don't realize it, but it actually starts from long, long time ago, as in the case that happened with me. And so what I want to do is just share today some things that deal with corporate culture or business culture, workplace culture. And it's a very important aspect. And oftentimes when people talk about culture, they're thinking about diversity, they're thinking about equity and inclusion, whereas that is a part of it. What I want people to most take away from this is the fact that just because a word states diversity, it doesn't mean people of different ethnic groups, but it means much more than that. For example, it means things such as what level of education does a person have? That's a part of the workplace culture. Okay, what type of volunteer work do they like to do? What type of movies do they like? Have they ever worked in an environment where there was a union as a part of their company option? Different things such as how many people were in your family, or you come from a single family, or it could very well be that you're in the military, or that you're part of the first responders. So diversity has a lot more to do with the workplace than just the ethnic background of a person, but it's more so the differences that people have. I always use the example that I grew up in a family of 10 kids, of which I did. And I guarantee you, in the family my parents have, 5 boys and 5 girls, every one of us like different things. So that represents diversity, even though we're from the same parents in the same family. So again, when we put this in the perspective of the workplace and we look at leadership, leadership has to know how to harness these particular things that really matter in the workplace to make it a safe environment, an environment people have open communication, they have trust, they have good team building, they like to work together, and that the mission and the organization, everyone is heading in the same direction. So when a leader in title comes out and say, hey, I would like to increase sales by 15% this quarter, and then we will get everyone together in the marketing team, we'll get the production line going, the distribution or logistics together, and they can actually go out and pursue that particular goal and objective. So what I'm going to be talking about now is how corporate culture is a competitive advantage for organizations, those that recognize it, and then those who actually do something about it. And it can impact any industry. And so what I'm going to share today are just a few things for you to consider. So when you're doing it right, when you're doing the corporate culture right, and the workplace right, as a part of the overall workforce, it means that you're going to attract better candidates. Everybody wants to work with what they consider the best company. If it's making cookies and selling those cookies out against other competitors, whether it's selling a bike or a motorcycle, no matter what that particular product happens to be, or if they're selling consulting, whatever it happens to be, people want to be with a winning team. They want to be with the best company. And of course, the best company oftentimes is based on an evaluation by the industry as a whole. So if we looked at industries such as oil and gas, well, I used to work for Mobil Oil Company. So I considered it at the time I worked for them to be one of the best in the world, not only just in the country, but the world. So it had a corporate culture. And at the time that I joined them, I had left the Air Force after 8 years, and they put me in an ethics class. And this ethics class was for professionals that happened to work at Mobil. And it also touched on diversity. And what they were really trying to teach me as a part of the overall team is that they were moving in a direction where every employee counts. So they wanted me to understand it along with others who happened to attend a training program in Northern Virginia, even though we were based from all over the United States. And so it gave me really great insight into understanding that. And then eventually, when I returned to the Air Force, I applied what I had learned from them in that short 2 years I had when I had a break in military service. And so they wanted to attract a company that is doing exceptional work. They attract some of the best candidates. If you look at a consulting firm, there are many out there, but there are some that are better than others, and everyone wants to work with them. And some people, I have a friend of mine that became a partner with Pete Marwick, KPMG, really great company, does a diversity of different consulting services that they provide their clients. But he became a partner with them. And he wasn't a lawyer, he was actually an acquisition specialist. And so it's different opportunities that people have, but they look for the best candidates, companies that are doing great because the culture has a competitive advantage compared to companies who do not subscribe to having a diverse workplace or a diverse workforce, depending on what their industry happens to be. Now, another aspect is you want to retain the most talented people. Now, this is a big one right now because we know with the economy being what it was, we know the unemployment rate is not as high as it has been at times in the past, but it's very competitive, which means sometimes it's difficult for even a good company to keep the best employees because sometimes that best employee may go out and start their own business. And so you train them, you bring them, hire them into the company, you train them, and then they're getting ready for their next phase because they're looking for upward mobility, more opportunities, and we want them to stay in those opportunities that involve leadership. And that's one of the skills that most of the people have is very, very good leadership skills. And for most CEOs or people who lead a company, or presidents, vice presidents, they have strong financial backgrounds as well, because understanding the numbers is one of the most important things that a company can do. But the key is all about how to enhance that business performance. How can I, for example, use the example of widgets. Instead of producing 10 widgets per day, you want to produce 20 widgets, just as an example. And so when people set these goals, as I used that example before, we want to increase the revenue. So you have to get the sales team going, the marketing team, the logistics, the production line. There's so many different aspects. And then, of course, with that client engagement. And so I'm just talking about some things that I want you to consider. Whenever you work for an organization, a company, the best thing that I recommend that you do, and I do recommend it at this time, is for you to have a conversation with the manager of the company, the supervisors, or the CEO themselves, depending on the size of the company, and find out exactly what their mission and their vision entails. Find out how their business operates, because once you find out how they operate, in your position, you would know how to enhance what you learn. And you can enhance it just by looking at what the previous predecessors did, the previous maybe 2 cycles of leadership the leadership teams, including the management and the employees, and then take a look at what their revenue was like. What was the production like for a given product and our service? And what were some of the contractors that they work with? Who were some of their clients? And then look at what the revenue was, because that will tell you how they were doing it. Then your job is to try to find a way to help make it better, because that's really what business is all about. You're solving a problem, maybe not so much a problem and a personal problem, but you're solving a client problem where the client needs to sell some products and you are the provider. So you want to ensure that you do everything that you can to help strengthen your team for a different project you're working on to help reach those sales number and generate more revenue, because the more you generate, the more it's going to help you if it comes to bonuses and increase in pay, upward mobility, and different benefits that a company provides. So far we've covered how to attract the best, better candidates if your company is operating properly, and then how to retain your most talented people. Then you want to increase the engagement and productivity. And what this means is what employees want more than ever, as well as managers, they want to be able to communicate with the decision maker of the company so that they can know where they stand. If they happen to be working on a project, they want to know, well, what is my status now? How am I doing on this project? Am I ahead of schedule? Am I within the budget? Will we get those X number of widgets out in time? And so you always want to position yourself where you're a step ahead. You're forward projecting, and you want to be able to make great contributions to the company and organization. And you want to do this because you also looking at what your career is by having that feedback from the supervisor and or the leadership. Historically, at least I know in my experience, we have an annual evaluation report. But now what leadership and management is doing now, they're going more to a more 2 to 3 week time frame. How are you doing type of meeting, and keeping people apprised of their status and how they're doing. And also the important aspect is what is their level of productivity. These things are important because it helps give you a result and how you can improve on the results, because you always want to work to be better and better and better. You know, I had a conversation with someone, and they asked, well, how are you doing compared to your peers or your colleagues? It's not so much what you're doing with your peers or colleagues, but how much better are you? Because in the end, you are your own competition. You have no other competitors other than yourself. When you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, you are the competition, because you want to try to find a way to be better and better and better. And that's really what it's all about. So when it comes to increasing engagement, different employees want to know, where do I stand? Am I a part of the team? There's a result out that states that only 23% of the people believe that they're really a cog in the wheel and a part of the organization, or that they understand the corporate culture. And the reason why is probably because no one is explaining it to them, and they don't know. Some people don't know to ask. But if you asked, if you always want to find an answer, you have to ask. And sometimes we may not like the answer, but asking at least gets the process started. So engagement is everything. So engage with your peers, engage with your management, and engage with your leadership. And sometimes some organizations have a suggestion box or a recommendation box, and perhaps they give out awards for it. I know organization I work with in the military, they provided that. If you came out with an idea to help the organization to do better, you would actually receive an award for it. And so these are some of the things that you can consider. But engagement, it also talks to productivity. Do you believe that you're producing at the level that you can, or can you do more? You don't ever want to do less, but sometimes we have to ask the question, at what level am I really accelerating? And it just reminds me of the time that I was applying to go into the Capitol Hill Fellowship Program. And the Capitol Hill Fellowship Program meant I would have worked at the US Congress, maybe in the Senate side of the Senate, or in the US House of Representatives. And so I applied the very first time, and I was not selected because my supervisor did not want me to leave. He wanted me to stay in the position that I was in. And so at that point, I applied. He let me go on and apply. And then another person applied, the person he wanted to go. And so he took my paperwork and he gave the paperwork to the employee he wanted to go. And the only thing the person did was change their name, what schools they went to, and their job titles. And he submitted his paperwork and he was selected. And so at that point, I requested a transfer and I was given that. And I went to a new organization and then I applied again and I was competitively selected and I attended and I worked in the US House of Representatives for a member of Congress for a year. And that was one of my Air Force assignments. And at that time, I was a major in the Air Force and I was promoted to Lieutenant Colonel when I was in that duty assignment in Washington, D.C. And so my productivity level had exponentially increased because I was taking escorting generals to the Hill to meet members of Congress on the Senate Armed Services Committee or the House Armed Services Committee, and we were trying to get more resources for the Air National Guard and the Army National Guard and the National Guard Bureau as a whole. And so when you increase your productivity level, correspondingly, you will receive and be rewarded for it. And I'm living proof of it. I'm sitting here today. So another thing that I want to talk about is improved employee well-being and safety. And this is so important nowadays, especially after the pandemic that just took place. Many people, just like with myself, I can identify 21 people that I knew, members of my family, my friends in high school, some friends in college, and some of my peers in the military. And so that's 21 people I know that I lost. And we're still going through the post-pandemic aspect, and it impacts us all. None of us are immune to feeling heartache or pain. And you know, we have broken hearts because we lost people that we love, we lost people that we respect, and we lost people we admired and worked with and for. And as a result, it's really all about right now, especially in the workplace and in the workforce, about different ways to help people with their well-being as well as with their safety. And with their well-being, there are different things such as you can receive some counseling. One can have received some coaching. You also have physical conditioning programs where they have gym memberships. And then you have meditation. So you can have some apps you can download or you can attend that, or some yoga classes. And that's something that I've always done. When I worked in the Pentagon for 12 straight years, I would leave home at 5 in the morning because it's such a heavy commute. And I would get there maybe at 6. And then I would go work out in the gym to about 7:15 and head straight to my desk there in the Pentagon. So we need wellness programs that are going to help people. Some of it could be just walking programs. Some could be what people, a lot of people use Peloton just as an example, and they have classes online because a lot of people did, in fact, work from home during the pandemic, and some people still are. And so part of that well-being could very well be that people have a hybrid working program where they work in the office a certain number of days and then they work from home. But working from home does many, many things because you don't have to contend with traffic. At least in Washington, D.C., the traffic is just crazy over the top, so many people. And I'm laughing now because I did that for 12 years, or maybe taking a metro train or something of that nature, or some people commute. And as a result, by staying home at least 2 days a week, that's a relief for people. And then extending time for people to take a little vacation time, or what we call a personal health break. About taking these personal health breaks, it really helps get people reinvigorated. It gets people renewed, and they're coming back fresh and ready to work even harder. And then when we look at safety, we know right now that there are a lot of issues taking place with guns, and a lot of people are going into schools or recently into banks. And so we have to also ensure the safety of people. We need safety from people that have guns and they're acting out of control, or people even in vehicles carjacking people on the way to work with a child in the car going to daycare. So there are many ways we can create that safe workplace environment as well, where people have open dialogue. And if someone is not feeling at their best, and maybe give them a little bit of time off, and perhaps have them go to the doctor to check them for any chronic illnesses that they have, whether it's high blood pressure, anxiety, diabetes, PTSD. It could hit people in a lot of different ways. And it's something that we really need to look at, because the number one resource that a company, an organization has is what? And you already know the answer, is people. And good people, like we've been talking about before. And I mean good people, people who are really dedicated and committed to their work and being a part of a great organization, but it's very important for that. And then we want to look at this topic here: diversity, equity, and inclusion. And again, it's an aspect of where it's not so much about the ethnicity of a person, but the diversity of their life experience, the diversity of their work experience. And over the years, I've delivered many, many diversity programs in Canada, in Toronto. I've delivered some programs in Texas at Johns Hopkins University for associations. And many times people are there just looking at it, oh, well, you know, it's the race of the person or the ethnicity. I'm like, oh, no, no, no. It's more broader than that. It's as broad as the way people think, okay? It has nothing to do with ethnicity, and it has nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with the diversity of an individual's experience. And one person may have been a high school graduate. Another may very well have been a college graduate. Some may have a doctorate degree. Some may have been a teacher before they took a job with an organization. Some may have been a coach. Then others may well have been leading an institution. Some may have been in the military. Some may have worked for union. Like my father was a union president for over 25 years. So those are very unique experiences. We already know that people eat different types of food, but we also know that people, when they look at their gender preferences, that's changed a lot over the last 10 to 20 years. And then who one marries. So a lot of it has changed, but we have to still be fair with everyone. And so we want to be equitable. We want to treat everyone with respect, with dignity and honor. We want to be treated like we want to treat other people like we want to be treated. So there's nothing, and it doesn't cost a penny to be kind to people, to have compassion. It's nothing wrong with having an open door policy to people to come in and talk, not so much about their personal issues, but as much as at least having someone listen to them if they're working on a project and they're running into hurdles or quicksands trying to resolve the problem, where you pull the team together and you do some team building, and you let everyone know, because you all want to be going in the same direction. When we're mission focused for organization, for example, I'm at UPS and I'm in college and I'm working to earn money for tuition so I can finish college in 4 years, of which I did. We want to ensure that the box that comes from the truck that was unloaded makes it to the conveyor belt, goes to a person to sort the package to the right truck. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of making systems work. And it's a very important function. And that's just a small example of what I'm talking about in terms of people being on the same sheet of music. And then when we look at inclusion, well, we don't want to be exclusive. We don't want to leave anyone out, whether a person is part of the maintenance crew or the security crew. They're still a part of the organization because they're employed by them. And so when we have that Christmas party, or we have a potluck, like a lot of things that we did when we were in the military or at Mobil Oil Company, we want to include everyone that plays a role in the success of the organization. I'll never forget the time we had just my first Christmas party at Mobil Chemical Company in Beaumont, Texas. And I tell you, it was one of the best parties I ever had. I was a new employee, and I believe I started in May of the year, but in December, they awarded me with some gifts, which I was not expecting, which typically we don't receive in the military. And it was really wonderful. And I got a chance to listen to the plant manager, the managers, my manager, and other managers in different branches, like the financial folks, the human resources folks, the maintenance crew, maintenance in this case, maintenance of the plant, as well as the crew that kept the facility clean, and then of course our security team and much, much more. And so it's really an aspect of you include everyone because everyone plays a vital role in the success of the organization. And then what's most important, the last thing I'm going to share here, and then I'll review each one with you just as a reminder, is to provide and deliver the best customer experience. My goodness, can you remember during the pandemic when you were trying to get customer service and you couldn't find it in some cases? Well, we want to give the customer the best experience that we can. Again, it's still a part of leadership, but this one we're talking about is the culture is a competitive advantage. But when we receive a package from Amazon, as an example, we don't expect that package to be damaged. We expect the product in there to be what we ordered. And we want to ensure the delivery individual takes a picture of it just to let you know, hey, we've delivered this in case you're not home. And someone may have taken the box or something. They want to ensure that you have it. So receive a text message, SMS, hey, my package is here. It's exactly what I thought it would be. And then you provide a small survey to Amazon. Hey, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you doing a great job. And or if you were to order a course, a digital course, and you pay for it, but that product, digital product, for some reason doesn't make it. Or I had a bad customer experience with an individual that provides media, and it was a seven bundle investment that I made, which meant I would be on 7 different media outlets. And I paid for it, and then I never received the link so that I could fill out the interview. And so I sent an email to the individual, he sent the link. Then the next thing you know, I don't receive a corresponding reply to say, hey, we received it, we're gonna submit your information. And so I sent him an email, hey, if you're not interested in doing this, just send me my money back. And he never has. And I'll be contacting the law firm to get some assistance on this. And so in other words, I had a bad customer experience. And if you happen to be employed by someone and you deliver products and services, you want that customer to have a positive customer experience. And it's because it means repeat business, and it means referrals, and it means generating more income. And if you introduce new products and services, it opens up a gateway for even more sales and generating more revenue. So it's something you want to consider. So again, today, what I talked about, and thank you for listening to this video as part of Leadership as Influence. And I talked about culture as a competitive advantage. And with you having leadership skills and abilities and qualities, it is a competitive advantage. And then you put it all together. The leader puts it all together with his managers. The managers puts it all together with employees. And here are the things that a company with a good culture and gives them a competitive advantage, what they receive. When they're doing it right, they attract better candidates. And I talked about that. So you're gonna actually attract the best and the brightest. And then you're gonna retain the most talented people. So oftentimes you train up a new employee where they actually operate from a position of excellence, and you want to retain them. You don't want to lose them to the competition. And so it's very important that you provide them with the benefits, the pay, and different opportunities for upward mobility and as a team player. And then you want to increase engagement and productivity. So again, engagement is connecting with those employees and talking to them. Sometimes organizations go on and they don't even talk to their employees. I'm like, that's not going to work. You have to communicate. And then you want to, because communicating helps with the productivity. So you want to increase that, and that's part of the business performance. The more people that you have trained in leadership, and if a leader recognizes they can develop other people on their staff, like the manager's employees, it becomes a more literate staff with leadership. And that's a competitive advantage that some companies can't compete with. And then you want to look at improve the employee well-being and safety. And I've already talked about that. We're living in an environment now that we really have to take care of people, because we know what everyone just went through with the pandemic, and we want to provide safety for people as well. People work better when they feel safe, that they can trust the environment they're in, and they're not fearing that something may happen to them, but it's more of an inviting and a more productive environment. And then we want to enhance the diversity, equity, and inclusion. In other words, we simply want to be fair and treat everybody with respect, with dignity, and we don't want to lean into the ethnicity as much as we want to lean into the excellence, because everyone can deliver. Everyone has different gifts, abilities, knowledge, and we want to capitalize on that, because if you capitalize on this, you're going to capitalize on the revenue stream that goes with it. And last but not least, to deliver the best possible customer experience. I cannot emphasize this enough. It's why organizations are in business in the first place. And that is everybody's has the same vision, they're headed in the same direction, and the objective is to improve and enhance on the business performance of the company, the organization, and most importantly, the asset within the organization. And the asset is the people. So thank you very much for listening. I'll see you on the very next episode of Leadership is Influence, and leadership is my jam, as they say. It's what I am all about. In fact, my title is Mr. Leader of Influence, and I wear it proudly. Again, I served over 20 years in the United States Air Force, and I retired in the grade with the grade of Lieutenant Colonel, and it was my honor to serve our country, and I look forward to serving you. If you want to learn more about me, simply go to www.paulvanspeaks.com. And when you go there, you'll be able to see the different leadership workshops that I have, because that's really what I'm all about, developing leaders. And then you can email me as well at info, I-N-F-O, at PAULVANSPEAKS.com. And you'll be able to email me there, and I'd love to hear from you. But for now, I look forward to preparing for the very next videos that I will provide to you. So I'll see you very shortly on a new video. Have a great day, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you. Enjoy your day. Goodbye.